What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Heel Deal podcast with your host, Ben.
And Zach.
And, man, we are in the midst of the NCAA tournament. What a time to be alive. We're recording this right after UNC's win against Washington in the round of 32. We got Auburn coming up on Friday. Zach, you excited right now?
Absolutely, man. We're looking good right now.
Yeah, so this is going to be, again, a pretty basketball-oriented episode. Unfortunately, Ryan couldn't join us. We really enjoyed having him last week, and a lot of you guys did too. But as always, the rundown. Baseball, men's baseball, loss against Liberty. 2 wins against Virginia Tech and a loss against Virginia Tech. So baseball sitting at 18-7 overall. Still pretty strong on the season. Men's lacrosse, they got a win against Cleveland State and a loss against Maryland. They are 6-3 overall. Women's basketball in the first round of the women's NCAA tournament lost against California. Unfortunately, it's Paris Key's last game as a Tar Heel. But she finishes her career averaging 18 points a game, which is crazy. I think that's second all-time for the women's program here. So huge congrats to her. Women's lacrosse got a win against Campbell and a loss against Boston College. They are still sitting strong at 8-2 overall. And lastly, softball took an L against Tennessee, a win against Georgia Tech, and then 2 losses against Georgia Tech later on in that series. They're 16-12 overall. So really all these programs that are in season right now doing pretty well for the Heels.
Yeah, winning records all the way around, man. It's
yeah,
looking good.
Yeah, hopefully they can emulate some of the success that like women's soccer had last season, women's field hockey. Yeah, no, great sports school. We all know that. So before we hop into basketball, I know you have some breaking news about the football program.
Yeah, and most of you guys probably heard about this already. I think he announced on Friday. But KJ Sales, one of the cornerbacks for the Carolina football team, announced that he is going to transfer. It's unsure right now where he will be transferring to. He did not say. But he is now leaving the football team. He's going to be transferring from the school. And we wanted to wish him the best of luck in whatever he does here in the future.
Yeah. Huge bummer because I know he's a vet and going under coaching changes, it's important to have those veteran presence. But do you think our team has the ability to come back from this loss?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been recruiting really well since Mac's gotten here. I don't think this is going to hurt us too bad in any situation, but like you said, it gives us a veteran that's no longer there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there will be a little bit of youth at the corner position that maybe we wouldn't have had he been there, but I think we'll be okay. But for KJ, I just hope he finds his place and wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, he was on a good trajectory, so hey, we might be able to see his name called in the NFL draft coming up a year or two from now.
I wouldn't be shocked.
All right, so moving on to basketball. All of you probably saw our win against Iona. It wasn't an entirely stress-free affair, was it?
No, it was not.
I think we all kind of came into it thinking we were going to dominate them, but it's the NCAA tournament. These aren't crappy mid-major teams. These are the best of those mid-majors, Iona being an example. So the Heels did not look good. I think they were down 5 at halftime. They shot 30% from the field at halftime. And, we were all a little bit worried, but I feel like more and more this season they've kind of really clamped down in the second half.
Yeah, they definitely have. And then to your point about the first half, it was really a struggle. I mean, Iona hit 10 threes.
I know. Why can teams just not miss against us sometimes?
Well, part of it's because we don't play good perimeter defense. We collapse inside way too hard.
I've forgotten what good perimeter defense looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have it very often. I think we rely on a lot of teams to miss threes, which frustrates, the crap out of me a lot of times. But, Iona came out and they showed they weren't going to be scared. You've got to respect them for that. I didn't think they would. I mean, most 16 seeds now aren't okay with getting blown out like they were 10, 15 years ago. Now,
UMBC gave them a bit of hope. Like, they can do it. Anyone can beat anyone. They just need to play a consistent, strong game.
Yeah, but eventually I think the pace of the game and our size did them in. They just didn't have enough to compete down the stretch, and we came out and jumped on them in the second half very early. Went on like a 6 or 7-0 run. I'm not exactly sure what, but just took the lead really quickly, and it's like that 5-point lead they had going into halftime just vanished, and they were like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then we just took it from there.
Well, I mean, what happened was we stopped shooting 30% and we started shooting 63% from the field.
Yeah.
So that'll definitely help. Yeah, it seems like maybe it was a bit of nerve. We have like the youth between Kobe and Nasir, so to get them acclimated into the tournament might take a little while. But speaking of Nasir Little, he's really emerging. He's looking a lot more comfortable in these first 2 games.
Yeah, this has been his weekend. I mean, we're going to talk about Washington here in a little bit, but just in Iona's game, he was terrific. He was one of the players in double figures, and really getting after it on the boards. Getting some big dunks, playing good defense, down low too, not getting in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Really looking like a confident player right now that we hoped we would see out of him this time of year.
Yeah, I would still love to see an improvement on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I feel like too late, he's just slow on his rotations, so they swing the ball around the perimeter, and you see him, like, running a few feet behind, and that's when they get open perimeter shots.
Yeah.
So if he could just stick on his guy and close out a little. He's actually, like, I feel like he's a good defender on the interior. It's that perimeter game that he really needs to work on. But it's cool to see him coming into his own, and we'll talk a little bit more about him when we talk about the game against Washington. But what else did you see with Iona that really stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, we had 5 players in double figures, and one of those, as we already mentioned, was Nasir with 19, which was great coming off the bench. Anytime you can get that kind of production off the bench, you add an element to your team that's hard to stop, especially for an uphill battle like Iona had in the first place. But I mean, like you said, we shot over 60% in the second half. That's hard to really defend against. I mean, if a team's doing that at any point in the game, they're going to have a lot of success, and really I think that's what it came down to. We just got more comfortable, and we just we asserted ourselves.
Yeah,
that's what it was going to take. I mean, that's pretty much all you have to do against a team like that. So.
Yeah, how many players did you say we had over double digits?
We had 5 players in double figures, and that was including Cam and Nasir, but I think Luke was another one. I'm not entirely sure who all of them were, but it was 5 people. So that right there is.
I mean, that just shows how well rounded this team is.
All around effort there.
I mean, when do you think the last time Duke had five players not named RJ, Cam, or Zion, with double figures?
Yeah, it's not like, I don't even know if it's happened this season. But yeah, for North Carolina though, I mean, this was a great win, and I think another big thing that I haven't mentioned yet as to why they were able to come out with this win is that offensive rebounding. We beat Iona 20-2.
20-2.
20-2. We got 20 offensive boards, and they got 2. And I'm not sure what kind of points came off of those rebounds for both teams, but I think that statistic can imply that was definitely in our favor as well.
So, I mean, I want to know a statistic where do you think a team's ever lost a game when they've gotten the offensive rebounding margin is 10 times their opponents?
No, I don't think it's ever happened, and especially in a team like this year where you've mentioned a lot of times. We don't really have that dominant big man, and the ability for us to still get these kind of rebounding numbers really shows how hard we're working.
Yeah, I just don't know how we do it, especially without we don't have a 7-footer on this team that can just swallow rebounds. Like it is really a testament to how great a coach Roy Williams is. Yeah. I think the fact that we're the best rebounding team in the country without a dominant big man, that's just awesome, and I think that's our edge. I think. I can't fact check this, but I feel like we were out rebounded in all our losses this year, and then that really sets the tone. It's hard to win games if you're the Tar Heels when you're losing that rebounding battle.
Yeah, more often times whenever you get more possessions than the other team, you're going to have the chance to score more points. I mean, that's oversimplistic.
Becomes a numbers game.
Yeah, and Roy's always been that kind of coach. He believes, that's why he doesn't call timeouts a lot when we get frustrated with him, is that he believes the faster you can move under control and the more possessions you can get yourself, which a lot of times start with you having to create fast possessions on yourself. You can't always force the other team to a fast possession because sometimes you just can't control that. But if you speed everything up you're going to get more chances at the basket, and that's always what he's coached in our players. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go more in depth later, but geez, when you're talking about playing fast, this Auburn game, I feel like it's going to be a tennis match. You're going to be looking one way, looking the other way. It's going to go back and forth and back and forth. But before we get into that, let's talk about the win against Washington, which was today as of us recording this. Nasir Little played even better than he did against Iona. He looked even more comfortable. He scored 20 points. He's got that little floater from a few feet out. It's so pretty. I don't know if he missed a single one of those. He was 1 for 1 from 3. Had some great rebounds. Man, no player is more dangerous on our team when they get hot than Nasir, maybe Kobe, but these freshmen are crazy.
Yeah, and I think part of that's because he's coming off the bench. The other team is not always prioritizing him number one over players like Kobe and Cam because he's not even starting. So when he has these kind of games like this, it really adds another element to our team, like I said earlier, that really makes us tough to beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice having him as bench depth.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people the first half of the season were wondering what Roy was thinking keeping Nasir Little on the bench. It was hindering his development or he wasn't going to reach his full potential during his collegiate career. But I think it's actually really paying off. I think he's fitting in a lot better into that bench role. He's seen more minutes. And, if he can play to his collegiate potential during this tournament, that'll just be a huge asset for the Heels.
Yeah, and to your point about the minutes, just for example, Ben, today in the Washington game, Garrison played 21 minutes and Nasir played 21 minutes. Now, I know that
Garrison did lose a tooth.
Yeah, he did about get knocked out, which I'm a little confused. We'll save this conversation for another time, but I'm a little confused about what they think a flagrant foul is because I've seen that exact.
You got to knock out 2 teeth.
Yeah, you got to knock out 2, and he's got to be bleeding so much he can't even see. But yeah, I mean, I think that I've seen that call before, and it's been a flagrant. But anyway. Nasir's definitely getting more minutes now. He's taking advantage of him, and he's giving us a big time production inside, and especially against a team today like Washington who plays his own defense. We talked about before the Syracuse game earlier in the year how we had to penetrate the zone by moving it around the perimeter, finding a window in there, dishing it inside to about the free throw line, and then letting that guy either shoot it or try to find a cutter coming from the baseline. And Nasir did a great job today of making those decisions. He passed it off a couple times, but most of the time, like you said, just that really pretty looking floater.
Yeah.
Or he even went up and attempted that. Remember that one time he went up for the dunk and they ended up getting blocked and fouled, but had he dunked it, it would have been poster worthy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's being decisive.
I know. It's great to see. I'd much rather see him go in and draw a foul. Right. Heck, even draw a charge, then dribble around a little bit and take an ill-advised, really deep 2-point jumper.
Yeah, I always
I hated that. But
if you're going to take a deep shot, just step behind the freaking line.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
If it's going to be a bad shot anyway, at least get 3 points for it if you somehow make it.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of stepping behind the line, man, Kobe's step back 3 in the corner.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Yeah, you can't defend that.
That was pretty. But, I thought they really had a great game plan to attack Washington's zone defense. They really just dished it around the perimeter, waiting till they could pass it inside. And Luke, being a pretty good post technician, he had a great game. And that was so important because if he was off and we didn't have any interior threat, it would have thrown off our entire game plan. So I thought, again, awesome coaching game plan.
I agree, and Roy did a good job with it. We know how to get after the zone. We have to do it every year against Syracuse, so that definitely worked to our advantage. But Washington coming in, it was obvious what their game plan would have had to be to win this game, and it was be a lot like a team that would need to slow us down, which is what I think everyone tries to do in one way or the other. But they definitely were going to try to do that. Then when we came out and were hitting those threes from everywhere, that changes their ability to do that because then they have to speed up to match our intensity on offense. They don't want to have to do that. They're not an offensive-driven team anyway. Washington was a defensive-minded team. That's how they got to the tournament. That's how they had a good season this year was their defense. It wasn't their offense. They really weren't a great offensive team. It was their defense, including players like, and forgive me if this is not how you pronounce his name, but Matisse Thybulle, he was unbelievable today. I mean, I think he had like 4 steals by himself, and I knew coming in he was first team All Pac-12 defense, but he was magnificent for them, and it was just an example of the kind of talent they have. It's defensive. It wasn't. They're not an offensive team that's going to hang 90 on you. So when we came out and jumped on them, hitting threes, that put them in a bind they just couldn't get out of.
Yeah. But Carolina just plays so fast. I feel like teams can look at a lot of as much film as they want. They can imagine as much as they want, but to play against it is something else. I feel like we have 5 to 10 points per game solely because we run that break so well.
Right.
A long outlet pass to Cam streaking down the middle. I know we scored once or twice this game. It's just so important. And teams that we don't see in the ACC, which might be important come Auburn, they're not used to that kind of break.
Yeah, and one more point about the break you were talking about. I hear a lot of commentators talk about this now, and it's something that's been present all the time. Is UNC is obviously a great team when it comes to getting out in transition. Mm-hmm. We always go fast. It's just been our identity. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I think is specifically fast, and maybe other teams that run in transition don't do this as well as us, is running after the other team makes a basket.
Yeah.
Other teams make a huge basket, whether it be a dunk or a three or whatever, and, we're down on the other end of the court in 5 seconds at the rim. And they're like, oh, my God. I turned around and looked at my parents and was like, oh, yeah, I flexed. I made a big three. And I turned around, my man's at the end of the
No, that happened, and I thought that exact thought. The camera panned to a Washington player celebrating and then quickly panned over because we were already at their 3-point line.
Yeah, that's a big coaching point that Roy had. It's like as soon as they make it, don't waste any time. Just get after it. Make them get back on defense instantaneously.
Take advantage of them trying to celebrate. Take advantage of them trying to let their guard down for even a split second, because that split second can be an alley-oop. Can be a nice outlet pass for an open three. So important. It's little coaching things that makes Roy an elite coach, I think. And
we do it against every team we play, really, regardless of the caliber. So it's something that, even though you prepare for it, it's not. I hear also all the time. Jay Billis says this all the time, Ben. Then we can move on. But I just want to point out that he's been saying for years, Carolina is like the easiest team in the world to figure out what they're going to do against you. Mm-hmm. But it's stopping it that is so impossible. He's like, there's no mystery here about what they're going to throw at you, offensively, defensively.
We've been running the same stuff for Roy's entire career.
Exactly. It's not going to change for him. But if there's one game plan, it's the easiest game plan in the world to come up with. It's against us. But executing that is a whole different ballgame, because you cannot simulate the speed that we run with in every situation, most specifically after made shots.
Yeah.
And you can tell yourself all you want to, oh, if I make a shot, I have to instantly find my man. But basketball players and athletes in general, when you do something good, you stop for a second and kind of relish it. Mm-hmm. You catch a touchdown pass.
That's what they've been doing their whole lives.
Exactly. It's what you do. So even that 2-second delay where you're like, oh my God, I forgot, I got to find my man, that's enough for us to get enough of a little bit of a blow by.
Yeah, because your man has a purpose, and he's way past you already. He knows the moment the ball goes in the basket, what they're doing.
Right.
But we are going to need that speed on Friday's game against Auburn. So Auburn, winners of the SEC tournament, which was a little bit of a surprise over LSU and Kentucky.
Yep.
This is a team that I wasn't sweating Iona, obviously. I wasn't sweating Washington too much. I'm sweating Auburn a little bit.
Yeah,
they are a good team. Number 5 seed.
Yeah, they're really good. The way they handled Kansas last night, for one, was...
Oh, they kicked their butts. I think they put up 51 in the first... It was like 51-25 at halftime.
They beat them up. They hit 13 threes. They, forced 16 turnovers. Just things like that. I mean, and they're like you said, they're a really good team. They won the SEC tournament, and the SEC is a tough conference. Mm-hmm. So I respect them.
I'm worried, like you were talking about earlier. We have troubles closing out. We have troubles defending the 3-point arc. So this matchup is obviously worrying. But for you, would you prefer this Tar Heel team playing a team like Auburn that shoots a bunch of threes, or would you rather them playing a dominant team on the interior maybe like Duke with Zion, or maybe like, you know what I'm talking about, with a dominant center that the game flows through that center. Would you rather like the impetus of the game be on the interior or on the 3-point line?
You mean like if I would rather the other team's emphasis be on scoring inside or scoring from outside?
Yeah.
I think my answer to that most of the time is going to be I'd rather have the other team's emphasis being scoring on the inside.
Okay.
But
you're not worried with our undersized.
Well, I was about to say I think maybe this year would be an example where you could swing me the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, I would say just based off how bad we defend threes, and it's obviously systematic. It's not something that literally happens every game after Roy coaches it. I don't think he has them focus too much on running guys off the 3-point line.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think this year I would swing more towards kind of wanting to play Auburn's style because we can match it.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, we go out there and hit threes like crazy too. We can run and score with anyone. There's never been a problem with that. But yeah, and Garrison is a question mark. Nasir is playing really well, but I think this year I would rather play in Auburn than I would have Duke, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I wanted to say up front that normally I wouldn't do that because generally
we've historically had good big.
Generally, we've always been dominant inside, so it would be crazy for me to say I'd rather have a team that could kill us from outside as opposed to inside because we can normally match it inside. But right now, I think maybe that's a chance to swing the other way. So
yeah, but on paper, Auburn and UNC play a similar style, a fast-paced game where they shoot a lot of threes. So this might turn into a track meet. Right now, UNC is the early favorite by 5.5 points, which is a pretty decent margin. Of course, that might not mean a single thing once the game actually starts.
Yeah, of course, I don't think it really will. That we're next weekend we're into the nitty gritty, as you say. 16 teams left in the whole country. It's just going to be a fight to the very end for every game left.
I don't think I think all easy wins are done for the season. So
absolutely.
We're going to start seeing what the team's made of. But Auburn, they're coming into this on a 10-game win streak.
Yeah.
Which is significant. They don't play poor competition. They don't play some lowly mid-major. They don't play in the WCC like Gonzaga.
Right.
They're on a 10-game win streak against quality teams, so they are hot right now.
Yeah, and their record on the season, Ben, including the tournament, is 28-9. So think about how they're on a 10-game win streak. At one point in the season, they were 18-9, and that's not even a tournament resume.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows you that they haven't always been consistent throughout the season, and they've had struggles. But right now is when it matters, and right now is when they're playing their best basketball.
Yeah.
So this is more of a dangerous team than anyone else left in the tournament as far as I'm concerned, especially with the way they've played so far in the first 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Are there any glaring weaknesses that Auburn has, or really, what are the keys for the Tar Heels winning this game?
Well, I don't really think there's anything that Auburn, has that I can see from watching them very little this season where I'm like, okay, if we ever play this team, we have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Tar Heels are overall a better version of kind of the same style that Auburn will want to play.
Yeah.
And we just have to go out and execute. I mean, that's what this is going to come down to.
We can't afford to have an off night.
It's going to be about us a little bit more than about our opponent. We're going to have to go out, shoot the ball well, run in transition, avoid turnovers, like we didn't in the first half today.
I mean, against Washington, it looked like that little early season turnover bug where Kobe just being a little too fancy sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we just go too fast.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen with Roy's system. But you got to have those trial by errors to get to where you can execute those full court passes and stuff with.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you're gonna have a little bit of both there.
Mm-hmm.
But Auburn doesn't have anything to me that says, oh yeah, if we do this and we'll exploit a weakness that they didn't even know they had. No,
Mm-hmm.
I mean they're an all around really good team right now. I just think we got to go out and play our brand of ball, and hopefully we shoot well. And if we don't, I think we can still attack the paint. They don't have anyone standing in the paint that's really scary.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to come down to us executing, man. I mean, I know that's pretty simple to say. It's I mean, if you want to try to execute every game, but I really think it just comes down to us playing our brand of basketball and going out there and getting the job done.
Yeah, I mean, this is March. This is the NCAA tournament. You can be a great team on paper, but there's always a little sprinkle of luck needed. We beat Oregon by 1 point. We beat Kentucky on Luke May's last second shot to get into the national championship. That could have swung either way.
Yeah, that could have.
We weren't necessarily the dominant teams in those situations.
Yeah.
So
that Gonzaga game in the national championship 2 years ago was, I mean, that until the last 1 minute, it was basically tied.
Yeah.
So I mean, until we
a little bit of luck.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have things swing your way sometimes, but you have to make that happen by, just time after time, just keep at it, and just keep fighting.
Mm-hmm. So we can't wait. Of course, we're gonna be live tweeting that game, so don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Heel Deal Podcast. I'm anxious. You guys are probably anxious, and we get to sit on those nerves all week. But before we run out of time, let's look at our potential Sweet 16 matchups really quickly. It can be so Kentucky is already in I said Sweet 16. I meant Elite 8. Kentucky's already in the Sweet 16. And then they're going to play the winner of the Ohio State-Houston game, which is later tonight.
Yep.
You guys listening to this will probably know what happens. We don't, but is there one team that you would much less prefer to play?
Of those three?
Of those three.
Kentucky.
Easily Kentucky.
No doubt. And I can say that confidently even if I don't know what P.J. Washington's status is.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be healthy for at least our game. I think he'll probably be healthy for the game against either Houston or Ohio State. But, I mean, Houston's not bad, but they're in a relatively weak conference.
Yeah.
Ohio State's in a tough conference, and they didn't have a great season. So, I mean, I don't even know if they'll beat Houston, though. So,
no.
Kentucky's the obvious answer there,
mm-hmm.
but I think it's the right one, nonetheless, being easy. So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be an absolute dogfight if we end up playing Kentucky, who already beat us this season.
Yeah.
They run through their forwards, which is why they're a team I just don't want to play again.
Yeah.
I would love if Houston or Ohio State could upset them.
It'd be tough, but I think for the Tar Heels right now, obviously Kentucky's kind of lurking in our minds, but we just got to focus on Auburn right now because if we look by anything, we won't be there to play Kentucky regardless if they're there or not.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So last thing, we gave you guys our Final Four predictions. Not sure if any of them are completely busted yet. I don't think so. I think all the teams we picked are still in the tournament.
The ones I picked are still in the tournament.
Yeah.
I think the ones you did too are still.
So knowing what we know now, with most of the round of 32 wrapped up, what's your revised Final Four prediction?
Well, going into this, as of last week before the tournament started, my picks were MSU, UNC, Florida State, and UVA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to choose to revise one of those after this weekend. And I'm going to do something that hurts me to do, but I'm going to be objective here and realistic, I feel. And I'm going to switch from MSU to Duke in my Final Four for the Midwest bracket. And the reason for that is I'm seeing just how much Cassius Winston is having to do almost exclusively to get Michigan State through the first two games of the tournament. They struggled in both of their first two games, and he had to be a world beater to get them through some of that. And I just don't think that if they were to get matched up with Duke, which is very likely, that they will be able to have enough from enough people without Josh Langford healthy to get by Duke. So I'm going to, as much as I hate to say it, I'm going to revise and say Duke is the new Final Four pick for me in the Midwest. But I'm going to keep my Final Four picks of UVA, UNC, and Florida State. I know Florida State's kind of a stretch. They got a tough game against Gonzaga Friday, which I'm very much looking forward to. A lot of athletes on the court there, Ben.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick with Florida State. I feel that they're kind of the sleeper team that's also not a sleeper team, depending on how you look at it. I'm going to stick with Florida State, though, to beat Gonzaga, go to the Final Four, and I'm also going to stay with the Tar Heels and the Cavaliers. So.
Yeah. No, I think...
What about you? Any changes?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I think... Duke's win against UCF today was pretty rough. They won by 1 point on just a putback that didn't look like it should have rolled out.
I think that was our one chance to see them go down early, though, man. That's what worries me.
It really worries me. I think Duke is going to make it in the East. I have a hard time seeing anyone in the South except for Virginia making it. I think Purdue is someone that can challenge them, but I still think Virginia is going to go. Like you, I have Florida State also going, and the Tar Heels, of course. I think Florida State is going to stifle Gonzaga. Gonzaga is playing a lot better than I predicted because I love to hate on them. I thought they were going to drop an egg, but I also thought Syracuse was going to be the ones to do it to them. Of course, Baylor put up absolutely no fight. But But I am so excited for that Gonzaga-Florida State game.
Yeah.
Probably more so than any other game.
And so I just realized I was talking about Michigan State and Duke and said the Midwest bracket. It's the East. My fault. We're in the Midwest, so I just wanted to make that correction. I was wrong in saying that, but yeah. I like your picks. I'm glad you're on the Florida State train with me.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're probably going to find out pretty soon how misinformed our picks are. But, yeah, feel free to give us comments or criticisms on our picks and tell us who you think's going to make the Final Four this year. But that'll wrap it up. That's the time we've got this week.
Yeah.
This is just basically Christmas week. I love March. Yeah. I love the NCAA tournament, and I love talking about it on this podcast.
And next time we talk to you guys, we will know whether or not we are advancing to Minneapolis to play in the Final Four. So it'll be interesting to see what we have to say then, and if we get to be in a good mood or more of a somber mood.
Yeah. Have fun trying to focus on school and work this week.
Right.
Yeah, from me and Zach here at the Heel Deal podcast. As always, go to Hell Duke.
Go to Hell Duke.
See you guys next week.